Alma Woodsey Thomas was an African-American artist and teacher who lived and worked in Washington, D.C. She is now recognized as a major American painter of the 20th century. Thomas is best known for the exuberant, colorful, abstract painting that she created after her retirement from a 35-year teaching career at Washington's Shaw Junior High. She achieved success as an African-American female artist despite the segregation and prejudice of her time. Today we're going to be starting a mosaic collage, a collage made up of tiny bits of paper, inspired by Alma Thomas's brushstrokes in her paintings. We're going to start with scissors. Remember, when we carry scissors, we do so with a closed fist. They are tools, not toys. They munch, munch, munch. They do not chomp, chomp, chomp. You are going to use your other hand to hold your paper. I'm starting with red. You might be starting with a different color. But don't worry, you will have all the different colors to use for your mosaic. We are going to cut our paper into thin strips. We are going to try to do this without drawing a line first. This helps train our artist eyes to kind of visualize the shape and space of the paper that we're using without having to have an actual line drawn there. We're going to slowly munch, munch, munch all the way across until our sheet of paper is turned into a bunch of thin strips. Do not worry if some of them are super skinny or if some of them are a little bit wider. After that, you're going to pick up one strip at a time and snip it into little squares. Not too big, not too small. These little squares and rectangles are going to represent Alma Thomas's brushstrokes that she uses in her paintings. Once we've spent a couple classes getting all the colors cut up and all of our materials prepared, we will be ready to start our mosaic. A mosaic in art is the decoration of a surface with designs made up of closely set small pieces of material. In our mosaic, we are using paper. We're going to start by marking the very center of our square piece of paper and glue down one little piece to start our mosaic off. After that, we're going to choose pieces in the same color to form a circle around that starting piece. Now, it might be a little tricky because our mosaic pieces are square and the shape that we're making is round. So you're going to kind of have to move them and bend them to make as close to a circle as you can. It might actually kind of start to look like a flower with petals going around the outside. These starting squares will be all the same color. After that, we're going to change colors with each row of the mosaic as it goes farther and farther out toward the edge of our paper. Now, if you notice, while I'm working, I am gluing my pieces around that center shape that we started with, but they are not overlapping. They are closely set, which means that they're glued down really super duper close together, as close as we can get them without them overlapping. If they touch a tiny bit like they're given a high five, that might be okay, but let's not have them covering each other up. If these were pieces of rock or glass, like a lot of mosaics are made out of, or ceramic tile, we wouldn't be able to overlap them. So we're going to practice like we are true mosaic artists. And our pieces are just going to have to try to squeeze in as close as they can. If you get to the end of a loop and you don't have a piece that's exactly the right size that you need, you can always use your scissors to trim it down. So you can try to get a mosaic piece that will fit in there perfectly. Now I want you to notice the way that I'm using my glue stick. I just have my glue open on the side of where I'm working, and I rub each little piece just a little bit onto that glue stick as I go. Now in a minute, when I switch to my cool colors, I'm going to show you a different way that you can use the glue stick as well. For our very first ring, this is how I want you to do it, so that you can practice using a glue stick in this way. Now, when I switch over to my cool colors, I start using my glue stick a little bit differently. I rub kind of a little arc of glue around the space where I'm going to start working, and then I can just press my mosaic pieces into it. I just have to pay attention to where that glue is. Obviously, if I'm putting pieces where I did not put glue, they're not gonna stick. So you can kind of add a little bit of glue, put your pieces down. Add a little bit of glue, put your pieces down as you work. I'd say going about a quarter of the circle at a time is a really good strategy to use if you're doing this technique. As we get farther into our mosaic, we're going to start getting super close to the edge of that black paper, and that is fine. We want to fill that black paper up. Now, if we were working in a more traditional mosaic material like ceramics or glass, we would probably have a border that we could not go over, and we would have to fit our pieces perfectly into our shape. But since we're working on paper, I'm going to just keep gluing things down even if they start to hang over the edge, because I know that once I'm done, I can trim off the sides that are sticking out the edge of my paper. The important thing is to get that black paper filled in with as many of those mosaic pieces as possible. So even though at this point I am not making complete circles or complete loops out of my mosaic pieces, I am still going anywhere that I could even get a little corner glued on. I am adding a piece, knowing that that color will show even after I trim off that outside edge. I'm finishing with my last color just barely peeking in to those corners. And once that's done, I am going to let it dry a little bit before we trim them so that I don't flip my pieces or they don't kind of unglue. In this video, I didn't give them time to dry. I just kind of went for it when it was wet. But when we're working on this project in class, we'll be able to set it aside and give it some time to dry before we do our trimming.